Okay, good afternoon. So for today's activity for graphic design and illustration, we are going to create a text-based poster using Photoshop and using a few tools that have been already discussed to you. So our activity for today is that we're going to create a poster that is composed merely of text and a few decorations using downloaded images from the internet. So for today's activity, we're going to make use of these tools, the type tool, blending options, layer styles, noise and grains, and adjusting layers. So the techniques that we're going to make use as well is blending layers, adjusting layer styles, using clipping mask, converting text into shape so we can modify them, and then using shape as a path for text. This is a sample output that we would want to do. This is a very simple text-based poster, so you can make use of this as your basis. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to replicate this, and then later we are going to, or you will be allowed to explore on yourself of using the tools that were discussed and then exploring a few art styles as well. So this one is based from the grunge art style that we discussed last time. So rip papers, medyo parang may mga plastic overlays, textured, and then grain. So okay, the steps that we're going to do is first one, we need to download all the resources. I have already uploaded them in Google Drive, so you can make use of these already downloaded materials for this particular activity. Or if you have time, you can make use of your own materials as well. You can download them and then use them as replacement. Dalawa, try to use a brush tool first to lay out your design. You can also try to draw them on paper first and then bago tayo mag-start with Photoshop. So para at least you know what you are going to do. But for now, you can replicate the output that I am going to use. Third, you can start with the background first and then you can build up to it and then lastly, save your file. So let's look back again at the sample output. So this is what we are trying to achieve. May nakalagay na plant now or die later. So there are still some issues here. So you can still try to improve yours as well. And you can change the colors for your output. So let's do it. Okay, nandito na tayo sa Photoshop and then let's try to indicate first kung ano yung mga kailangan natin gawin or the techniques na nabanggit kanina na gagamitin natin. One is the blending option, adjusting layers. Number three, clipping mask and then converting text into shape. And then lastly, using shape as a path. So we can make use of this as our basis and using the materials that we've downloaded, nagawa tayo ng sarili nating ganito. So let's start from the scratch. So Control N to create a new file. Try to name it text-based poster or whatever you may want. Text-based poster. I am using inches as my size. And by 12.5, this is actually 1080 by 1080 by 1350 or usual parang portrait in Instagram. And then I'm going to use 500 as my resolution. You can try to lower it if your devices aren't quite as high processing like mine as well. Pwede mo siyang babaan. But for people who have devices na okay naman, you can go with a resolution for a more fine, very clear picture. Okay, so para makita natin yung ating guide, para hindi tayo palipat-lipat ng ating window, we can try to click here on window, click arrange, and then tile vertically. So pag sinabi natin tile vertically, Photoshop is going to arrange them like this into two, or it's going to divide your screen or your work area into two para makita mo yung pinagbabasihan mo here and then a blank document on the other side. Pwede mo rin naman siyang palitan depending on the orientation of your project. Pwedeng tile all vertically. Pag ganyan naman siya. But for this one, since portrait, let's tile them vertically. So, start. So, okay, I have here my resources with me. So, this is the folder that we'll be using and the folder that I've already uploaded in Google Drive. Nandito na lahat ng kailangan nating resources for this particular project. So, I have here my decorations, yung mga rip papers, and then the textures for the background, and then an example for you to use. So, the first thing that we need to do is Okay. So we can try to choose kung alin yung ditong gagawin nating background for the example. So we can try to make use of this one, crumpled paper 8. And then let's just try to drag it to our Photoshop. And then large natin siya para ma-occupy niya yung buong space. And then Control 0 para... Okay. So now that we already have a background, automatically, ito na nga yun. What we can do is we can start with changing this background into this color first. So what we can do is we are going to create a new layer and then we're going to use the eyedropper tool, copy this color. So you can make you can choose any color that you'd like. But for me, I'd use this color muna. So para meron tayong guide using the eyedropper tool. What the eyedropper tool does is it copies a certain color pigment from a different document or from a different image. Kukunin niya yung color pigment na yun, so we can make use of that. Using the paint bucket tool, balik tayo dun sa bago natin document, you can press G or click this button, the paint bucket tool, and then fill this layer with that color. Oops, I'm very sorry. Ayan. The first thing that we're going to do is blending options. When we say blending options, this is adjusting the layer according to your preferences on how it is going to appear like with the layers below. Okay, so with layer 1, what I would want to happen is parang mag-iba lang yung kulay ni crumpled paper. So what we can do is change the layer, the blending options rather. Pwedeng darken, pwede siya maging ganyan, multiply, color burn, linear burn, darker color, lighten, screen, color dodge, and many more. So you can try to explore which of these you'd like to use. But for this one, I think I use the color. Ayan. There's actually another technique as well. What you can do is you can click on that texture, click on layer styles, you go to color overlay. You can choose that color again. And then instead of doing a clipping mask for that, you can just simply click color to change the mode. So mag-iiba siya. So let's see kung meron nakitang pagkakaiba. Actually, wala naman if you're going to. So there are two techniques na pwede natin gamitin. So for this one, para hindi na natin kiniklik to just to change the color, ito na lang gamitin natin. So if you'd want to adjust, po pwede. So one down, tapos na tayo with the blending options. Next one is we're going to insert these decorations, yung ating mga parang ripped papers na nasa baba to give the feel of a grunge effect. So we can go back again to our documents. Open the decorations folder, hanapin natin si ripped papers, and then, ayan, gamitin natin yung ilan. So we can choose, let's say, it's 1, 2, and then 3. Again, drag them to your Photoshop document, and enter, copy them, then, yeah. Okay, so we can place them first. Place muna natin siya according to our preferences. So I'm going to add another one and I'm going to position it on the top area. This one siguro. Give it a more grunge effect. You can flip a particular element by clicking on Edit, Transform, and then flip horizontal. Okay, so now that we've already positioned these decorations on our document, let me just adjust this a little bit. No. What we want to do is to make them black. So, pwede man, we can make use again of colors. Color over layer, layer styles. But what I did here is I used clipping mask. So, for more defined color. What we can do is we can try to merge them all by selecting all these layers. click and then merge layers. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn them black. The problem with this is if we're going to use layer styles, color overlay, kahit na gawin natin siyang kulay black, what is going to happen is we're not getting the effect that we'll be needing since the blending options are not capable of changing that particular color kahit anong blending mode yung gawin natin. So what we can do is we can make use of adjustment layers and then let's try to change the okay. So what we can do again is this, click on the adjustment layer, click invert, change the color, and then automatically it becomes white. So what we can do now is, what we can do now is use a clipping mask para mag-behave lang siya or mag-adjust lang siya doon sa layer na nasa ibaba niya. So we're going to make use of a clipping mask. So now, ganyan na siya. So you can try to adjust. You can adjust the exposure as well. You can adjust the exposure. Ganyan. Make it darker. You can offset it depending on your preferences, how grungier it'll look like. Or you can try to adjust the brightness and contrast as well. Okay. So once you're already fine with your decorations, now let's start with the text. Okay. So for this one, I am going to use type tool or simply press letter T, type, and then click, type in the word plant. Halimbawa lang. This one, I think I'm using the font. I can't remember anong font pa yun. Next thing naman na gagawin natin is we're going to insert the text. So kindly click on the letter T on your keyboard. Press the letter T. Then type in the word plant. For this one, I am using Subtle Dreams as my font. Type Subtle Curves rather. And then, yeah. Change the color to white first. Para mas makita lang natin. So, ayan. And then below, I can just simply copy this one. Again, hold Control and then Shift to create a duplicate layer of it. Control, press T. Then, now or die later. So what I would want to happen is it has to be perfectly aligned. Okay. So what you can do is you would want to distort the text as a group. You have to select both of them and then click on these corners to have them distorted. So you can hold Control and then Shift. So para maging equal siya. Distorted na. Ganyan. So make it appear parang it's distorted and isometric in a way. So let's enter and then, okay. So for this one, we can try to change the blending options as well. I think I did overlay in this one. So, ayan. Or if I'm not mistaken, soft light, I can't remember. Ayan. Or overlay. Okay, so for this one, I think what I did was, for the word plant, here, as you can see, meron ako parang mga subtle lines na inilagay dyan. What you can do, and you can explore with it as well, is you can try to duplicate the layer by pressing or clicking Control J, and then right-click on that layer, and then convert to shape. So once you converted it to shape, wala nang atrasan yun, you cannot edit, the text. So automatically, it becomes a shape that you can modify the outlines and then the fill color. So press on the pen tool para mapalitan siya. So you can change the fill color. And then, lagyan natin siya ng ayan. So pag in-adjust natin yung size, here you can see na it became a shape. And then, pwede natin palitan yung kanyang border styles. Okay. Let's do, okay. I think I also used overlay for that. Okay. So, next one, you can also lock your layers para hindi siya magalaw. And I think, nagpatong ako na, I think I duplicated the plant layer again, Control J, and then I turned it into a shape again. Then instead of using a solid color as the fill, I think I did a gradient just to give the effect of la parang mirror effect. So you can use a gradient. I can change color into white. Okay, so after that, ayan, okay, we're fine with our text, so you can try to explore it more. So now that we're fine with our text, I think I would like to make it smaller. I think parang masyado siya napalaki. So, ano natin siya ng konti. Okay, some of the layers are locked. I'm so sorry. Okay. Now that we're all fine with the text, I think I'm okay with that. Next thing that we're going to do is mag-insert lang tayo ulit ng text. Lagyan natin at below na for education purposes only. Okay, and then next one. Okay, now that what we want to do right now is this one. We're going to make use of a shape as the path for our text. So the first thing that we need to do is to insert first a shape. We're going to use the ellipse tool by clicking on the letter U. So you can position it anywhere. Gawa muna tayo ng shape. And then, I would suggest na maglagay muna kayo ng fill para madali ninyong makita kung nasa yung inyong shape. And then, you click on the text tool or the horizontal type tool, and then on the edges, you click on it para makapag-type tayo. So, I think, yeah, and more trees to save the earth. So, you're parang adjusting the text like the usual. Pwede mong lakihan. Ayan. I think I inserted some exclamation points here. Okay, so then what you can do to the shape is you can simply delete it and then automatically the text would remain. So, yun siya. Already have your text with you. So I think what I did here was I did an overlaid one. And then I think I duplicated another one. Parang it would be the shadow, and then the blending option is only in default normal. So, ayan siya. For the last, okay, now that we're okay na almost, parang nakikita nyo may plastic something siya here. So I think what I am going to do now is I go back to the decorations. I'm going to use these plastic overlays so you can make choose of any of these. And then, siguro for now, ito naman yung gamitin ko. So again, just drag it to your document. Rotate it. Then, and now that we've already inserted this plastic overlay, what we're going to do now is we're going to adjust the blending option. So I think I used color dodge for this one. Okay, so I think parang hindi masyado nakita yung takpan siya masyado. So we can adjust this by rotating it siguro to yan. We flip this one more. Okay. So, ayan. I think this would be the best. You can try to adjust with the opacity as well. Ayan. And then, okay. So, you can adjust this. I think nasa ibabaw siya na layers. Okay, so, and let's just try to look at it. So, delete all the tabs. Okay. Oops. Okay, so now here we have a very simple grunge type of text-based poster. I don't know if I originally copied what I did a while ago. So I think for the last touch, what I can do is I'm going to create a grains and layers just to make it look more grungier. I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to insert, I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to make this white, and then I'm going to click on filter, go to noise, so we can add some noise and then some grain effect para mas mukha siyang luma. Okay? So there's two, uniformed and then Gaussian. So I often use Gaussian for the finer look. And then I'm just going to change the blending options into overlay. Then, yeah. So I think I'm fine with that. I think I'm fine with that. So if you try to look at it, we only used a few tools. I think you can still edit this in terms of contrast and in terms of color combination. You can make good use of it. One good technique that I do is I overlay everything with a brand new layer, and then I would fill it with a different color. And then I would use the blending options color, so I could, I can try to explore which color combination can I do more, or I could try to explore other color combinations only using one color. This one looks quite good. This one as well, but I would definitely use this one. So thank you very much. So that's the end. You can try to save this into PNG and make another one.